Okay, we're now in public session. Just to remind members that the committee meeting is broadcast in public and will be recorded and broadcast through Parliament buildings and online. Members, apologies from our chair, Philip Brett. Apologies for lateness for Jonathan Buckley and
Gemma.
Kate Nicholl, and apologies for...
Probably from Gemma Dolan.
Okay. Declarations of interest, members. Please signal if you have any, or signal through at the relevant time in the meeting. Just a few items under Chair's business. You will be aware that there was a informal meeting with the Chair along with departmental officials on Monday in respect of security of electricity supply here in Northern Ireland. A summary note of the meeting has been circulated by the clerk. Is the committee content to note the summary? You also... Are members content that we write to NIEA, the Environment Agency, seeking clarity on its interpretation of the EU Industrial Emissions Directive and related energy efficiency requirements respective running time for Kilroot's open cycle gas turbines? This is reflected in the meeting on Monday, is that?
That's right, Chairperson. As you're aware, the interpretation, so the running time issue would not have applied in the Republic of Ireland, but it does apply in Northern Ireland. So I understand the department has had a chat with the Northern Ireland Environment Agency about maybe that might be changed going forward, so it's seeking an update on that.
Okay, members content? And then also, members, are you content that we write the department seeking clarity on the application of the EU emission trading scheme here in Northern Ireland? Yeah, okay. Sinead, do you want to come in now?
Chair, under matters arising, if you want to go through 12 minutes.
No problem. RHI tariffs, members, you will be aware that during the debate on RHI tariffs on the 1st of December, the Minister appeared to advise that the annualised cost of the tariff increase was 10 million. However, the SL1 indicates that the tariff uplift will cost an estimated 10.5 million on tariff payments over the period November 25-26. Are members content that we write to the Department seeking clarity on the cost of the enhanced tariffs for the period from the application of the statutory rule until the 31st of March 26?
Yeah.
Members content? Yeah. Okay. And members, just one other business for me is the FOIs during Christmas recess. It is normal that we delegate authority to the Chair and Vice and Deputy Chair to submit views on the releasing of or withholding of information in any non-routine or contentious freedom of information requests. Are members content that we delegate authority to the Chair and Deputy Chair? Yeah, okay. Draft minutes, members, page 327. You will find a copy of the draft minutes of our meeting on the 3rd of December. Are members content that they are a true and accurate record of our deliberations? Yep. Matters arising. Sinead.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I just want to go back onto the draft minutes in terms of item number 6, where a number of questions were addressed to Invest. And I can assume, because I can't see anything in correspondence, that we haven't received any information that we've requested from Invest NI, in particular around new investments. Is that right, Chair?
That's correct.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, I have got to the bottom of it. I've received information in relation to those new investments. I'm clear on 17 of them. And one new investment came to the Northwest, and it was a company called Propel, and it has one job promoted. I feel as if Invest NI weren't really clear with me at the meeting last week, and I'm really disappointed about that. And I think that the Minister herself should be very concerned in relation to the regional balance aspect of new investment, as it is a key vision, a key priority within her economic vision. So I think it would be appropriate to ask the Minister to come to the committee as soon as possible in the new year to discuss trying to get disaggregated data from Invest NI, so we can clearly see transparency and governance about new investment, and so that it's very much a live piece of data so that we can interrogate it going forward. And also those supported investments, we need to understand the value of them outside of the Belfast metropolitan area, not the number of them, because I think the value will give a completely different picture. Because if we're really intent on getting regional balance, we need the data to be clear and concise and available. And it is disappointing that Investor and I weren't able to get us that information in a timely fashion. It sounded as if it was at the tip of their fingers, only they just didn't have it with them. But a week has elapsed and we still are no clear. But it is my understanding that Propel is the investment that came to Derry with one job. Thank you.
Thanks, Sinead. Clerk, you have obviously caught a lot of that in terms of the Minister, we'll touch on this in the Forward Work Programme, but the Minister has agreed, initially she was to come the 7th of January, that has now been moved to the 21st of January. So it would be something, Sinead, that we will be able to raise with the Minister as well on the 21st of...
And maybe we could, in the interim, write to her and ask her department to, to give it their assessment of new investments and the heading of regional balance.
Yeah, no, and that's why, Clerk, I want to summarise that. And before we just agree that, Padraig has indicated...
You're on a separate point, so
a separate issue. Are members content then, just in terms of the follow-up, what Sinead has asked there? I think it's very reasonable in terms of getting that and making the Minister aware, obviously, that we'll be bringing this to her attention as well. So members content, yeah. Agreed? Yeah. Okay, Padraig.
Thanks, Chair. And just on a separate point around the Hidden Heartlands announcement for Fermanagh. So I know that this has been something which the committee have looked at. We've previously visited Fermanagh. So I thought that it would be timely to invite TNI, Falch Ireland and any other relevant bodies to address the committee on the economic impact this will have on tourism in Fermanagh, but indeed in other regions as well. So how the Wild Atlantic Way can extend into Derry and how Ireland's Ancient East can extend as well. So I just think it's timely discussion. It's something we've been working on as a committee. So I'm very happy to propose that. And I mean, I'm happy that we can maybe as a committee agree who should attend that as well. But I think it's important that we note that and actually understand the economic benefits.
Yep, no problem at all. Members content, David?
Absolutely content. Whenever we were in Derry, actually, I think it was the committee meeting in June, we were told that it was Falch Ireland were the ones that were preventing the Wild Atlantic Way coming and the Ancient East, the two of them. Now that this is happening, which is brilliant news actually for Fermanagh, really, really brilliant news. But it's those other two that we also need to. So it's Falch Ireland we need here to answer of why if we can invite them. Absolutely agree, Patrick.
Diana.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, I really do welcome that. It's been long in the making, the Hidden Heartlands expansion into Fermanagh, but I also think it gives us even more reason to challenge the VAT disparity in the hospitality sector. I think that's really important. It's not forgotten about between the two districts or two regions.
Okay. Well, I think members are in agreement, so we'll certainly schedule something in the Forward Work Programme. Is that
so? Tourism Northern Ireland, Tourism Ireland, and Falch Ireland all together.
I think the key is to have Falch Ireland.
Yeah.
I think the key is to have them all together.
All together.
No, that's fine. No, I think we're saying the same thing, David. Okay, members, we'll move on to item number 7 on our agenda, which is the Insolvency Bill. Are members content that we... or the members will be aware that the committee has undertaken a small number of oral evidence sessions and we've already deliberated on the clauses and the schedules of the bill. The committee stage must conclude with a report on the bill to the Assembly on or before the 12th of December, which is Friday. Members, a copy of the draft report is at page 337. Clerk, over to yourself.
So members, I'll just drive you through this if you can all just respond on it. So the report's in different parts. The background to the bill is set out at pages 341 to 344 of your packs. Are members, can I ask, are the members content with that?
Yeah.
Okay, then we have the committee approach, which is set out at page 345. Are members content with that one?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Consideration of the bill is set out at pages 346 to 354. That sets out all the various things we talked about. If members are content with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Then we have the clause-by-clause scrutiny, which is at page 355 to 357. Again, if that is agreed.
Yeah.
Then the appendices are listed there at page 358 to 359. Can I ask if those are agreed?
Yes.
And then finally, the executive summary is at page 340. So if members are content with that, if they would indicate. Thank you.
Okay.
So is the committee therefore content that this will be the 5th report that it will publish in this mandate? Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Right, so Chairperson, also can ask members if they're content for me to include an extract from today's minutes, basically doing what we just did there, into that report, if members are content with that.
Yes.
Fab, so that should be issued to post boxes, I think, on Friday. So that means we've finished the committee stage within time, and I would anticipate the consideration stage will be sometime in the new year, but there don't seem to be a lot of amendments, so it might be quite a short consideration stage, but anyway, you can look out for that. And when you come to, if you are making speeches consideration stage, I'd advise you just take out the old committee report, and that will remind you about all the things that you said and that we're worried about or not worried about, as the case may be. So Chair, very good.
No problem. Thank you all very much. Okay, so we're going to move on now to item number 8, which is implementing the Matrix AI recommendations. The committee will be aware that we previously received evidence and in relation to the Matrix report entitled AI and the Future of Work in Northern Ireland. Matrix advised the department had been briefed on the recommendations, and as a committee we had agreed to seek a departmental response. Members, I refer to the clerk's cover note at page 361. There's also a departmental paper on AI at page 377, an overview of the presentation from Matrix, which we received on page 385, and there's a number of other papers there as well. So can I welcome Mr. Alan Ramsey, Director of Trade, Innovation and Priority Sectors Division, DFE, and Paul McCoy, an International Investment Manager at Invest NI. You're both very welcome. So I'll hand over to yourselves now for a short presentation, up to 10 minutes, and then we'll open the floor to members for any questions that they may have. Over to yourselves.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. Hopefully about 5 will do it. So look, we're delighted to be here today to brief you following your recent engagements with AICC and the Matrix panel, who were involved directly in the report. As you say, Chair, I'm Alan Ramsey. I'm the Director for Trade, Innovation and Priority Sectors within the department, and I'm joined by Paul McCoy. Paul is City and Growth Deals Manager at Invest NI, and I think fair enough to say, Paul, you've been around AI for a wee while.
Yes, I have.
Yes. So I thought, to borrow a film title, AI is everything everywhere all at once at the minute. It's a rapidly evolving technology, and I think we all appreciate that it has transformative potential, which I think it's also fair to say we probably don't really quite understand yet where that's going to lead us and how it's going to lead us there. And it's really that pace of change with AI which sets it apart from other technological waves. So, internet revolution or mobile technologies, for example. As you heard from the representatives of the Matrix panel, AI has the potential to enhance economic productivity, promote regionally balanced good jobs, and facilitate decarbonisation efforts, but not without risks and some disruption along the way. As AI technologies become more advanced, they will most likely continue to drive significant improvements in performance and capabilities. They will reshape the formation of startups, business operations, and the delivery of public services, and I know that's an area of particular interest to Helen McCarthy as the Chief Science and Technology Officer. So the Matrix report estimates that AI could add between around about 200 million and 3.7 billion in additional value to the local economy by 2030. Meanwhile, the AICC census report found that AI-related revenue reached just under 200 million in 2024, generating 82 million in economic value, with the potential to rise to about 200 million by 2028. So while those two sets of forecasts don't match exactly, I think the direction of travel is fairly clear. And that's why the Minister has been very clear that she wants to be on the front foot to ensure Northern Ireland captures the benefits of AI. So just on the study itself, so Matrix, the AI and the Future of Work study, was commissioned at the start of this year in January. Following a short procurement process, work on the report was initiated in April, and then following receipt of a draft final report, it was launched by the Minister on the 26th of September. So within 4 weeks, by the end of October, we'd established a dedicated AI and digital technologies team within my division. By the end of November, that new team had undertaken an initial review of the matrix recommendations. They had conducted further stakeholder engagement around the next steps, and it became very clear through that engagement that stakeholders preferred a much more flexible approach. They talked about a high-level framework, a strategic direction, rather than getting into the nuts and bolts and developing a fuller AI strategy. So off the back of that, then the team published a strategic direction framework for AI policy and delivery just this week on the 8th of December, and that sets out plans to establish an AI advisory panel. So that groundwork really was essential, and we hope to confirm the AI advisory panel and hold its first meeting week commencing the 15th of December, which is next week. So the Matrix report calls for 3 things to happen. Firstly, it calls for urgent action. So the phrase they use is do something rather than nothing. They call for coordinated action, and then finally they call for consultative action. So the report itself also recognises the constraints we face in terms of delivery. It identifies constrained budgets, complex governance arrangements, including how departments working across departmental bases, competing strategic priorities, and just general risk aversion within the civil service and the public sector. Some of the activity Matrix proposes is already happening, but there are certainly gains we can look at from making sure that's much better aligned and scaling opportunities, and that will be a key role for the new advisory panel. So the advisory panel will have an initial focus on the Matrix report's recommendations. It will advise the Minister and the Department where the greatest value can be gained and how we translate some of those recommendations into proposals for delivery and action plans. Delivery must be and will be collaborative. We will work closely with the Office of AI and Digital, other parts of the department including skills colleagues, our ALBs and other departments such as the Department for Communities and the Department of Education, alongside industry and academic partners. And we do that because that's what Matrix recommends, and it's what fits best with an inclusive approach. We anticipate the panel's initial priority will be to establish task and finish groups to implement agreed recommendations from the Matrix report, and I'd expect delivery action plans for these groups will be in place by the end of January. But the panel's remit will be broader than the Matrix report recommendations. It will advise the Minister on the application and adoption of AI and other digital technologies to support her economic vision more broadly. In terms of our approach, we've identified 3 strategic strands of work. Those are investment, ethics and regulation. Initial activities will focus on investment, so that's building out and building up on existing departmental programmes and initiatives and enhancing AI skills. The ethical considerations will align closely with the CSTA's forthcoming AI strategy for public service delivery, and we'll try to build on what AICC is doing around responsible AI adoption. The regulatory aspects, that's going to be shaped by a mixture of reserved and EU competences. I think the most important thing there is, as the report identifies, is just that AI developers or users of AI products and services understand completely what the regulatory requirements are on them. And just, Chair, before concluding, I wanted to acknowledge the committee's interest in the Skills Action Plan and how it's supporting the development of AI skills. The rollout of AI across all sectors of the economy will put a huge emphasis on reskilling, upskilling and lifelong learning at all levels and across all parts of the skills and education system, from curriculum, employer-led provision, further and higher education, apprenticeships and careers. I understand that senior colleagues from the Department's Skills and Education Group are due to attend committee early in the new year to brief you on the Skills Action Plan, and they will be able to speak in a lot more detail around the activity that's ongoing and planned to support AI development in each of those areas, including through the Digital Skills Action Plan. So, Chair, Paul and I are very happy to take questions. I think we would be really keen to work with the committee on developing this. I think there's a huge amount of interest in it. There's a lot of appetite to do stuff and get stuff done. So we are certainly not experts in AI, but we do want to push ahead, and the Minister's very keen to push ahead. So we're very open to taking advice from the committee as we try to do that.
Well, thank you very much. That was certainly very useful. As you've said, the committee is keen to work with you in respect of AI. All of the members, particularly Kate, who isn't here at this stage, but Kate has been particularly keen. And there was a meeting yesterday evening in terms of the launch of a new all-party group in relation to AI. So we have a keen interest in it. And as you say, the pace of change is phenomenal, and we're seeing that change each and every day. I have a number of members who have indicated in terms of questions, but just from me, in terms of the advisory panel, who then sits on that advisory panel? And I obviously welcome the speed in which they're working, because as you say, we have to be in the front foot. But so who's on the panel, and is that something which advises not only the economy minister, but is it the wider executive as well, or is it just the economy minister?
At the moment, it would just be the economy minister. So it would advise her directly. The way we've approached this is the advisory panel will be quite broad in terms of following that steer from Matrix about doing this in a co-design way, getting as much expertise as we can. So we'll have government representatives on there, we'll have industry reps, and we'll have sort of some of the academic research angle. So I can't confirm the names just quite yet, because we're just in the process of invitation.
When you say government representatives, in terms of each of the departments, is that what you're talking about? I think it's important that there's that joined up, because as you have touched on, education is such an important field and such an important area, and we need to ensure that those who are coming forward have the right skills to meet some of those demands of the future. Another question I was going to ask just is in relation to the Matrix report itself. It appears that the entry-level positions are particularly vulnerable when it comes to AI, or certainly that's what's fed through in terms of the Matrix report. And I just wanted to maybe tease out as to, even from maybe an invest position as well, as to whether or not at this stage you can quantify the impact of AI on those entry-level positions.
I think at this stage it's very early.
Yes.
I mean, AI as a technology has been in the public consciousness now for about 2 years, but obviously it predates that by quite some time, and it is rapidly making its way into various types of industry. The Matrix report does identify which sectors are exposed to AI and by how much, and the impact on employment. But certainly, if you're looking at a range of different sectors, it's fair to say that we're starting to see changes in behaviour. People are using the technology, and various studies have been done in terms of the actual awareness and adoption of AI. Now, it ranges from using products like Copilot, which is probably one of the best known within the office automation kind of space, to using things like ChatGPT and Gemini, helping to sort of augment people's work. And that's generally speaking what we're seeing, that kind of augmentation process. People are becoming more productive because they have access to tools. So these are better office tools than they've had before, and they're starting to make use of them. I'm sure we've all seen our own personal productivity benefits. But going beyond that, we're starting to see the beginnings of AI being used beyond that kind of office automation task. And certainly there's a number of industries that have been identified, not just within Matrix, but also within AICC's own report, that are exposed to AI and are making use of it. But it's fair to say that some of the recommendations within the Matrix report does look at providing training for those roles which are likely to be vulnerable or displaced. And I think there's certain industries, where automation could have an impact. But again, a lot of studies are kind of going on at the minute trying to pinpoint exactly the direction of travel. But we're very mindful of it, in terms of, our client base, covers a whole range of different industries. But I think the recommendation to identify sectors at risk and provide actions against that is quite meaningful.
And in terms of support that Invest can provide to those sectors which are particularly, and we'll use the word vulnerable, but as I say, there's a bit of a reorientation in terms of how people do tasks, etc. But in terms of support from Invest NI, is that something that you're actively looking at as to how you can support those who obviously require support to change and to adapt the new technology?
At this moment, the AICC is our primary vehicle for supporting industry. It was a recommendation came out of a previous Matrix report, and it's had one full year of operation. It's been successful to date. You heard the evidence from the team in September. The two of us actually sit on the board representing our organisation, so we're very close to the activity, and we see a lot of parallels between what Matrix has recommended and what AICC is currently doing. So within all of that, there is a need to basically make leaders aware of AI and how to use AI responsibly. So before we get to the point of actually training everybody and identifying specific training needs, we have to make leaders aware of AI and how AI can impact, and more importantly, how AI can actually training in AI is required to address some of these challenges or opportunities, depending on how you look at it. And certainly, look, we've seen technology change in the region over the years. We've been through the .com era, and we're now in a what you could call the AI era. And there's certainly an awful lot of energy and a lot of heat, a lot of investment going into the sector. But I think looking at it in the round, AICC is doing a good job in terms of raising awareness within industry. But AICC is not the solution to what Matrix is calling for here. It's part of it, and there's more work that needs to be done. And certainly, Invest and I will be mindful of the needs of its client base in various sectors to actually deliver training. So we've been running training programs for quite a number of years. And if I take you back to 2012, there was a sort of a similar but smaller kind of evolution in kind of data science and data analytics. We were at the forefront of working with companies to introduce Assured Skills Academies to kind of help industries kind of adapt and grow those workforces and to provide the training that's required. AI represents different sorts of challenges, but I think we've got good tool sets within the department and also within Invest and I to address the training needs.
Could maybe add to that, Chair, to your point about AI starting to eat up some of those opportunities for maybe graduate, entry level software positions and so on. The flip side of that coin is it actually is a big opportunity for the public sector to mop up some of those people and get them sort of into working on digital transformation within NICS, for example. So we are speaking to the likes of Software NI just around opportunities to get people in to the department to help us with some of this stuff.
Thank you. Just open up to members now, David.
Yeah, thank you. I suppose firstly to say Kate is disappointed. I suppose she's not here this morning. Her she had a family thing to attend, but she's done an awful lot of work on this. I have a couple of things. I would never want to hold the department back, but I'm trying to understand the rationale to put this out before the executive AI strategy has been released.
I suppose, David, they're two slightly different things. So the executive AI strategy is the one, so Helen McCarthy as Chief Science Technology Officer is leading on that. That's much more focused on innovation and public service delivery. So that's how the public sector does AI transformation. What we're looking at here, and the Economy Minister, this is much more about what can we do across the DFE family of supports and interventions to support AI transformation in the economy more broadly would be the difference.
So this is 4 pages, right? You've talked about kind of the fear there of sectors at risk, everything else, and we've got images of robots taking over from humans. Does that help relieve fear and what this actually is, or is like, it looks like a sci-fi movie? Is it?
I suppose the point of that framework document is really to it's, we got a very clear message when the Matrix report came out, and we started to follow up with having conversations with stakeholders about, okay, well, how do we take this forward? There was a bit of a push for, we need an AI strategy. Actually, do we? Do we not just need something move a lot faster than that? Have a sort of a broad framework of how we can take this stuff forward, and we can move in different directions underneath that framework. Part of what Matrix are talking about as well is a process of engagement with the public and understanding what AI means, citizen assemblies.
That's exactly why I'm asking this. But how does that engage? This has been put out, and I'm being cynical, okay? But this has been put out without a press release. Is it just simply so you have something to bring to us today? I feel like this is not an actual strategy. There's no information about the panel. There's nothing. This is simply 4 pages with robots on it.
Well, I would push back slightly against that. I think it's more than that. It's, we're moving at pace here. We could take much longer to develop
don't want you to take longer.
A full strategy and maybe come back in 9 months' time with something. The world would have moved on significantly. So we thought, best way to do this is try to move at pace and keep pace with the technology. So we put out that framework, and underneath that, then we'll look at those recommendations and develop out action plans and delivery plans under each of those strands.
The advisory panel then give us timescales, because you don't have it. Eh?
The advisory panel should have its first meeting next week.
Okay, so can you give us a list of who's on that panel?
Yeah, no, we can. We're sort of firming up attendees. As I say, it'll be quite a broad group because we want industry, we want research, we want government. But no, we're very happy to share that information as soon as we can.
If it's meeting next week, obviously.
If we get, I think we get that. No, listen, I don't want the department to slow down on anything. I'm just been slightly of why there's no press release whenever this was launched.
Take the point, and I will speak to our press people about the robots, which may or may not be terribly helpful.
Yeah, they're not helpful. So thank you.
No problem, David. Sinead.
Hello, thank you very much for coming along this morning, and thank you for your document. I suppose one of the things I would like to ask is it's kind of on the back of what David was saying there as well. When Matrix AI presented to us recently, they told us that economic strategies should shift away from potentially defensive posture, which is, I suppose, how do we protect jobs, existing jobs, and move into a more offensive one on how do we build an agile workforce that can harness AI as a tool and help develop more jobs. Where do you think we are at this particular moment on that shift from fear to opportunity?
Thanks, Sinead. As Paul said, it's probably still early days. I think AI is already changing the labour market. We may not be picking all of it up, but we're seeing it certainly in some of those sectors where we call it vulnerability to AI, where it is starting to change some of the more routine administrative roles. We're seeing it in software for sure, professional services, consultancy. Anyone in those sectors will say to you today that is having an impact. There's still, there's a long way to go in terms of some of the sectors that are less susceptible to AI, but it will get there eventually. But I think it's just going to be every sector will experience and adopt AI in a different way and at a different pace. Paul?
I think a lot of the industries that we've engaged with, both at home and abroad, there's been a lot of focus on talent and talent acquisition. Companies kind of keen to add people to their headcount to solve more and more problems, to deal with more and more customers, need more and more people. And that has certainly driven a lot of investment around the world. With AI, we're getting productivity gains. So everybody that has access to it is getting somewhere between 25 and 40%, depending on which figures that you believe. So if you're an experienced person in industry with a lot of domain knowledge, you're going to get more use out of these tools than somebody who's entry level. And I guess there's an observation that AI might be influencing the number of entry level opportunities that are coming along, because if you can get 25 to 40% more productivity, that's going to take the heat out of the growth of your staff to some extent. That's not a bad thing per se, because it does create other opportunities, and it creates opportunities for kind of productivity kind of gains. One of the recommendations in the Matrix report is about these kind of AI native startups. And it's worth remembering that if you're starting a business right now with AI in your domain, that's a significant advantage to a company that was setting up maybe 5 years ago where AI was not available to you. So you can build a lot of capability into products in various industries by the use of AI. That's going to dramatically transform your company and you as a founder of a startup business. And there's a key action here, obviously, to look at that. But the report identifies a number of industries where the impact of AI will be high, such as in ICT, professional and scientific services, and so on, where these benefits can be sought. But there are challenges in terms of, if you're a recent graduate, how do you get into the market whenever AI is basically being used to do some of the tasks that you would have typically been asked to do as a young graduate. And the report does highlight that particular problem in terms of how do you create a talent pipeline if your entry level is affected. But it's not the first time that technology has impacted on the labour market. I think this time, however, AI is only in its infancy. We're version 5 of ChatGPT, we're version 3 of Gemini, and it's only been a couple of years. What will AI be able to do in the future? But we're really seeing a lot of it. So upskilling, reskilling, and lifelong learning in AI is going to become more and more vital. If a company, for example, was slow to adopt email, the email product they adopted finally was probably the same as the email product that the early adopters used. Has email really changed in the last 20 years? Probably not. You could argue that Copilot has made email more better and different. And therefore, new generations of people kind of coming in to use that product will just assume that's how email has always been, but it hasn't. So we're seeing a lot of change, but a lot of opportunity. So it's all about the point that Alan made. It's about being the front foot. It's about taking the lead and making Northern Ireland, a region that has got, the best enabled workforce, the best training, the best opportunities. And Matrix kind of highlights that in its 4 scenarios. We've got to adopt the preferred scenario and move forward with this. Yes, by all means, take care of the ethical considerations and make sure people aren't left behind. But there is a need to consult wider with the public, because there is genuine concern. Your point about robots highlights that. There is public concern about AI taking people's jobs. But AI is a fantastic opportunity for the region.
Yeah, and I do believe, there's no avoiding, the future is here, and we have to be early adopters, also, be aware of some of the risks and take action in relation to some of the risks. So, that is about reskilling people, and we do already have evidence that young people coming out of university are finding it difficult to get the first rung in the ladder because of the adoption of AI in some of companies that that would have taken them on before. So my next question is, how is the department ensuring that the benefits of AI can be widely dispersed throughout the economy? And will the advisory panel have a regional balance as an objective within their remit at looking at AI?
So I think that's absolutely what we're about, is adoption of AI and related technologies. It's not all about AI, but how those productivity enhancing technologies get diffused through the whole of the economy, to all parts of the economy in all areas and regions and geographies of the economy. So a large part of that will be down to the things we do around skills For example, using something like the FE college network, which is regionally spread, the sort of training and skills delivery they can do to support AI development, both with learners, with workers, and with businesses. The panel itself will have a good regional spread. That's something that's absolutely part of it. So we would have a lot of the capability we're creating through city and growth deals, AMEC, Cadric up in the northwest, etc. will all have a voice on that panel to be as representative as possible.
Okay, because quite frequently when you have new innovation, it is those areas that are left behind, particularly areas of high levels of deprivation, that can actually fall further behind because of the lack of skills in order to embrace the new technology. So it's really, really important that we put in supports at the very, very beginning to ensure that it's not a postcode lottery in whether you benefit from AI and the new opportunities that will be prevalent in the economy.
Yeah, no,
Thank
it's
you.
a very good point, and probably I think it's a matrix point, highlights the risk around gender imbalance as well, in terms of some of the industries and occupations that are being most affected at this phase of AI tends to disproportionately affect females. So that's something we need to be really conscious about. In addition to the sort of the geographical piece, probably I mentioned software, professional services is where AI is probably hitting hardest at the moment. Those do tend to be concentrated probably in and around Belfast, Greater Belfast, but there are huge opportunities as AI goes through manufacturing, goes through agri-tech, those industries that are much more sort of regionally spread.
Okay.
But yes, we are aware of that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you. Thank you for coming into the committee this morning. And I do echo what Sinead said about regional balance. I represent the Southwest, and obviously some of the traditional industries there won't benefit at this point as much from AI. So looking through some papers there, the Secretary of State for Science, Technology and Innovation in GB launched the AI Opportunities Action Plan in January this year, and they set out within 6 months a long-term plan for the AI infrastructure for the needs. Have you looked at that to see how it is advanced? And it also was backed by a 10-year investment commitment. What investment commitment is there for AI advancement in Northern Ireland?
Thank you. So the first point around the UK government's AI Opportunities Plan, yes, we are very well aware of that. I suppose our most obvious contact point on that is the AI growth zones opportunity. So as part of that opportunities plan, they have identified a relatively small amount of money for a number of growth zones around the UK. Northern Ireland would have one. DFE is not sort of responsible for that programme, but we are working closely with DCIT and making sure the opportunity is understood and visible locally to local consortiums. So we have a couple of applications have gone through that process. More generally, we chat with DCIT officials fairly regularly to make sure that's kind of the flagship fund at the moment, but there is other things in development, other funding opportunities which will fall under that opportunities plan. So we're just making sure we know what they are and we can signpost them. The broader point about investment in AI and that 10-year commitment, I think it's fair to say at the moment this is not funded. There are obviously budget constraints. Some of the matrix report recommendations will involve expenditure. At the minute, those pots of expenditure are not identified, so there will be a process just of internally within the department, looking at priorities and seeing if money can be found and allocated to some of those. Now, the committee is probably aware we did make a bid under the multi-year budget process in the summer for AI, which I think the numbers are, we bid for 4 million Ardale and 1 million capital in each of the 3 years. Now, the idea there would be that that would support some of this work. It may also support something like an AI challenge fund, which is also in the Matrix report. So we'll wait to see what that process.
I think it's quite a modest ask. I mean, really, given the urgency that Matrix is recommending to this, but I do see the steps you've taken, because the Matrix report is all about we need to move forward, we need to grasp this right now, and the steps you've taken so far in getting to the stage of establishing the advisory committee, I think that's really good. The other question is, I haven't heard mention of dual market AI compliance. That's something we're hearing about, dual market. I mean, how do you envisage that working? Because that's cross jurisdiction. How do you see that unfolding?
Yeah, and that again is something the Matrix report picks up, that we should really have some kind of advisory service. So I suppose largely AI services and products would fall under the services banner, but some of it will be embedded within hardware and technological products, so the regulations will apply. So at the minute we obviously have the two regimes. We have the UK regime, which is not a specific act, is a set of just sector by sector regulation, and then we have the EU AI Act, which takes a slightly different approach, is a bit more risk based. So currently, for anyone, so say any AI developers based in Northern Ireland, they would have to navigate both sets of regulation potentially, depending on their business model. So if they want to sell product or services into the EU, they would have to comply, as would any other provider in any other part of the world. Even potentially if they are in the supply chain of a product or service going into the EU, they would still potentially have to comply. So I think the main thing there is that there just needs to be clarity, so that those service providers are completely clear on what is required of them. And I think we've probably seen around some of the Windsor Framework guidance, there's scope for improvement, let's just say. So
Thank you. One last question on the education piece and the graduates, graduate level entry into jobs. I mean, does this really provoke the question, maybe on a review, an overview of education policies, curricula, right back to primary school, and that's a major piece. I mean, is that something that will be factored in further down the line, that there is a preparedness there all the way from primary school through? That is indicated in the report, but it's a major piece. And given that we face constraints and budgetary issues, it is ultimately more efficient way to deliver education going forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. And again, picked up in the Matrix report that there's actually a really good opportunity at the moment, because the Education Minister has launched the review of the curriculum. So we see that as a kind of perfect timing in terms of influence, and we will have Department of Education and people involved in that curriculum review on the advisory panel.
And will efficiency, with AI and its potential for efficiencies, driving down costs, you can see particularly in the health service and public sector like that's critical. How will that ultimately be measured, for the gains made?
If applying across the public sector, so that would be definitely Helen McCarthy as the Chief Science and Technology Officer. The area she's thinking really hard about. I know she is about to launch her AI strategy for the public sector, and I would imagine she will have a suite of metrics and evaluation type framework within that to monitor impact. But you would hope, the likes of AI through the health system, there's huge potential there, and it should be relatively easy to see and experience.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Chair.
No problem. Padraig?
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for your answers so far. I'm keen to pick up on a few of those points, but I suppose for me, the main point which I'm keen to get a better understanding from yourselves of is the cross-departmental nature of this, because I would worry that either if it's just left with DFE, or if it becomes a whole of government priority, then some departments will and some departments won't. So can you talk to me a wee bit about the cross-departmental working at the minute, how you find that, where you think there are strengths and where you think there can be improvements?
Okay. As I alluded to at the start, Padraig, Matrix identify that some of the way we are structured in the governance arrangements in the public sector and the civil service in particular can make things difficult in terms of working across departments. But I think we recognise that if we're going to have any kind of impact in this space, we have to break down those barriers. Getting those other departments onto that advisory panel is kind of the first step in that. So, as I mentioned to Diana, the fact there's a curriculum review on at the minute, well, there's an opportunity. So let's have that represented on the panel so we can potentially influence that curriculum right down to primary school level. It's not without its challenges, I acknowledge that, but we're going to have the best crack at it we can.
Okay, and I know I acknowledged last week, but I think I was a former primary school teacher myself, and I know that there's a lot of work around coding that's already being done. So I think it's an open door there, really, that staff are experienced in that. People are the sort of cold face of it, really, and will be using it in their employment going forward. So I think that would be one of the departments where it's actually probably easier to embed new practices and AI. One of the other things which I'm keen to get a better understanding of is you've mentioned already some of the regulation between Britain and then between the EU as well. So I'm keen to get an understanding in terms of regulation of where we fall between that. Is there an opportunity for looking at best practice in both and adopting our own model, or where will we fall within that framework?
Yeah, there probably is opportunities and challenges. As I say, it depends on where you are based, your business model, your supply chain, and your end customer, really. And it will probably vary depending on each of those factors. I think in terms of the applicability of the EU Act here, that I think is still subject to discussion, sort of between UK government and EU, may at some point hit against some of the democratic processes under the Windsor framework, but at the moment my understanding is it's not, but it's still applicable for anyone who wants to provide a service or product into the EU.
Do you think it'll be... Sorry, go ahead.
I think from the perspective of companies who are operating in this area, there's obviously a focus on EU versus UK/GB, but our companies are selling into the US and other territories as well. So they need to be aware of all the different regulations and kind of build the products and services to be compliant with them all. I think there's an opportunity in Northern Ireland, to actually kind of build something that actually works in at least two markets, the UK and the EU, and to build up a knowledge pool within Northern Ireland to do that. That's a unique opportunity. With all these things, it takes time. You got to build that knowledge up over a period, and we're starting to see, obviously, as we get divergence. UK very focused on innovation and sectoral approaches. EU focused on a single act. The US US's rules are changing, obviously, at the minute as well. But I think that the opportunity to build that expertise within Northern Ireland, supported by a unit, as mentioned in the Matrix report, to kind of provide advice and guidance, gives us significant strength. So regardless of what the regulations happen to be, developers and implementers in this region can benefit, from having that support, and we can sell that as a USP.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I agree with that. I think they're huge. For me, this is about opportunities, and it's about looking at actually what are the advantages that we hold by access to those markets, and I think this is a key one of those. Just to finalize this, in terms of GVA productivity and so on, it's something I'm really interested in. Keen to get some understanding from yourselves of exactly the statistics around that. What do you see being the benefits by, say, 2030 to GVA productivity? Do you see a sharp increase in that beyond that? And it's just to get a better understanding of how that impacts, because productivity is obviously one of the Minister's key economic pillars of our vision, and I want to kind of understand how that feeds into that priority.
Okay, I think it depends on the pace of implementation and how the pace that AI rolls out across all those sectors, particularly those priority sectors, which tend to be the most innovative and productive sectors. It will, as Paul suggested, take some time. So it's probably, with any forecast, it's difficult to be very precise. So as I sort of mentioned in the opening statement, we have at the moment two key sets of forecasts. We have the AICC, and we have, on the other hand, the Matrix report, looking at where we could be by about 2030, 2028. And even the variability in those, I think the AICC, the range is from about, in terms of additional economic value, 200 million up to potentially just shy of 4 billion. So that's a massive range, which suggests there are a lot of variables and a lot of assumptions, and it depends how those actually land. But I think it's undeniable it will enhance productivity over time, for sure. I had a look, the OBR, just around the budget a few weeks ago, it come out and actually sort of downgraded their productivity forecast through to 2030 for the UK. But when you dig into that and you look at actually where is productivity growth going to come from, it's going to be from AI and digital technologies. So yeah, it will enhance productivity. How we see that feed through to the stats will probably take some time, and as I say, Padraig, just depends on the pace of adoption and diffusion. But what we're trying to do is speed up that process as best we can.
I think the reports do indicate that we're actually off to a good start. The AICC report in particular was like a census on the industry in terms of who was using it and what they were using it for, and we were encouraged by that, because that gives us a kind of a benchmark to compare what life will be like at the end of the AICC funding. AIC represents a significant investment by Northern Ireland in AI awareness and adoption. It's one of the largest projects of its kind across these islands. The Matrix report calls for more action, which will take us a lot further and hopefully a lot quicker. But we have actually achieved quite a lot kind of so far. The City and Growth Deals initiative, which is putting huge investment into research infrastructure with the universities, will significantly improve the ability to deliver AI in a number of key areas and key projects. Momentum 1.0 at Queen's, Cadric in the northwest, but also in areas of health and life sciences with CDHT, which looks at medical technology, and even into creative industries. So we're starting to see the impact of those earlier investments. The Matrix, it creates an opportunity for us, to act quick and be decisive, and there's a significant prize. But which GVA figure do you pick from the range that's offered? The quicker you go at it, the harder you go at it. The more you're going to get. And there's also a need to kind of translate from personal productivity gains into company productivity gains. And I think that's the challenge for leaders in business and in public sector. to do that. And some of the recommendations in Matrix kind of look at that kind of wider awareness piece in terms of educating our leaders to take advantage of AI, to turn personal productivity into company or public sector productivity.
No, that's really interesting. And look, could ask another 100 questions because it's just such a developing and an interesting area. So, but thanks very much for your time, and appreciate all our members are trying to get on. So, I'll not hold you back. Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. Kate.
Thank you, Chair, and apologies for joining virtually today. This is obviously an area that I'm very interested in, and listen, I just have to say I'm pretty disappointed in this report. Publishing it without a press release, 4 pages on the website, it does feel like this was just kind of put in so that there'd be something to talk about today. Echo what David said. We know that public trust and confidence is low, and that AI has massive potential for productivity, and a productivity tool doesn't help anyone having robots imagery. Like we need to stay away from that. And I listened to the responses. I guess the first question I have is, which department do you think leads on AI?
DFE leads on AI in terms of application across the economy, but all departments will have skin in the game, you know, in terms of their stakeholders, the part they play. You know, it's broader than just DFE. It has to be, you know, a joined up effort, and other departments, communities, education through the curriculum side of things all have to sort of push in the same direction. But DFE will lead in terms of an overarching AI position in terms of economic development.
Okay, and I agree with that. I agree that it's cross-cutting, and that every department has its role to play, which is why Helen McCarthy is appointed to develop the AI strategy. And so that's why I just don't understand why this work didn't wait until that strategy has been released. You said yourself, she announced last night, it's been to FM and DFM, and it's going to be published, very soon, in January. So why put this out now? Why not wait until that strategy is in place? It's just not clear to me.
I suppose what I'd say, Kate, is that they are 2 slightly different things. So the strategy that Helen was working on as part of her AI and digital office, that applies to innovation in public service delivery. So that is very much about how AI transformation applies in the public sector and across the public sector through all the various agencies, the civil service and wider. What we are doing in terms of our AI approach is more about broader economic development and part of economic strategy. So they're slightly different things. One's more internal public sector, the other is economy level. What I would say is there's quite a lot of similarity between the two in terms of the key themes. So, responsible and ethical AI. Helen's very concerned and thinking about inclusive AI, and those match quite closely to the approach we're taking and the strategic strands we've identified, and that's because we've been in communication with Helen quite closely for a number of months around this.
Okay, but this wasn't developed with that team.
It wasn't developed with that team, no, but we certainly
You've been communicating.
We did. We had a lot of engagement. Yeah.
How many people will be on this new AI team?
Do you mean, Kate, the
within the department?
Within the department, we have it's a grade 7 led team, and then we have 3 people working with the grade 7, so about 4 people at the moment. Now we may, as I said earlier, we are thinking about, as this progresses, we may well need some sort of someone with AI subject knowledge or expertise. We're thinking about how we could pull that in from the private sector, maybe through working with software, NI with the Matrix panel and their connections.
Okay. Recently, I met with one of the kind of leading firms in Belfast that's doing a lot of work on this, and their head of AI actually said her team isn't expanding. What they're doing is ensuring that everyone within the organization is AI literate and is able to utilize it. And I wonder if any consideration has really been given to that in terms of how the department works and how the skills are given to people within the department.
Yeah, so internally within the department, how we are approaching AI, there are a number of things happening. It's primarily around the rollout of Copilot. So, you know, arguably we're starting at a relatively low bar, but we have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And how we incorporate that into, you know, some of the more routine things we do, but can be very time consuming. Summarising documents, you know, we've just most recently used AI assistance on the consultation response on the RHI closure consultation, which means, you know, that was turned around within the space of 2-3 days, which would normally, for the number of responses taken, probably 3, 4, 5 weeks. So we are sort of at the start of that process. We're getting to grips with Copilot, how to use it, what the use cases are, and that also then is supported by a program of training, development in terms of how to use it effectively. So like we are on a journey, but I think everyone is up for trying to get some mastery of it, realising the amount of time it can save, if nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is how people start to understand it, and its potential is by just trying to use it themselves. I guess the final question I have is, there've been a number of strategies and kind of positions. I'm thinking of the skill strategy, for example, action plan. AI is going to impact all of this, and yesterday, University of Ulster launched the first public opinion poll on AI, and the key messages to me, we've already mentioned low trust and the need for that. But what struck me was there already is a very high awareness or level of awareness within the Northern Irish public. But it's skills and upskilling that is going to be key to it. So will you be revisiting any of the documents that have been published? What kind of policy discussions are being had about the role of AI in so much of the work that the department is undertaking?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I did see, I think it was the chief executive of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, had said basically that organisations, whether they're in the tech space or not, or public sector, basically have to unlearn everything and relearn everything. So, you know, DFE is no different. So we are in the process of thinking about, and I think that's where having the AI panel established and advising the minister will be really helpful, because that really will be advice around, well, where do we need to prioritise resource? Where can we get the most buying for each pound, and how do we need to adapt and change policies and programmes right across the entire DFE family. So that will be a key part of that advisory panel, and I know you know, a large part of that will fall to the skills side of the department and how it's thinking about reshaping what it does and the offer it has, and colleagues will sort of be able to speak to that. But I can certainly assure you that group is focused and will be focused on what do we need to do across the department in terms of all policy areas, be it energy, skills, wherever.
Thank you. And I suppose my final plea is that everyone is talking about AI right now, and there's a risk of kind of a level of performative kind of action around it. And I could probably name all the people who will be on the advisory panel, because every conference you go to, it's a number of the same experts. And I think we know a lot of what we need to do, and we know a lot of what the advice is, what the Matrix panel have said. You know, Helen's going to have a strategy coming through. So what we really need to see then is action. And that's great. The minister's going to be advised by experts. Evidence-based, expert-led policy is really important. But what we're also being told is that we need to act with speed. That would just be my final plea, that we see outcomes from this rather than just kind of briefings. But thank you, and I appreciate you coming to committee today, and I'm sorry I'm not there in person. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you, Kate, and that's all of the members and all of the questions. So Paul and Alan, thank you very much for taking the time to come along and to share with us, and no doubt we will hear from you again shortly. So thank you very much. So we're just going to summarise now in terms of points of action. I'm assuming the only thing that I picked up there was the fact that the AA strategy Kate mentioned published in January.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming the committee will want to schedule a briefing in relation to that strategy at some point in January?
Is that agreed, members?
Members happy? Yeah.
And also we're seeking the advisory panel membership.
It's meeting next week, so
hopefully that's agreed, members.
Soon. Members happy? Yeah. Okay. Item number 9, SL1. Disqualified directors. Members, you will be aware the Department has delayed a statutory rule in respect of the Disqualified Directors Compensation Orders Fees Order Northern Ireland 2025. The proposed rule would be subject to affirmative resolution procedure and would come into effect following a debate in the plenary. At the covering notes, page 555, it indicates the Small Business Enterprise and Employment Act 2015 allows the Department to apply to the court for an order requiring a disqualified director to compensate creditors for losses incurred as a result of the conduct for which he or she was disqualified. The disqualified director is required to pay an amount to the Department for the benefit of creditors. The Department must then distribute the compensation award to creditors. This is done by the Insolvency Service. The proposed SR enables the Department to change a fee for making the distribution. This is paid out of the sums received prior to any payment being made to the creditors. It is calculated on the basis of time spent by staff. The hourly rates are to be set out in a schedule within the regulations. The Department advises that the proposed rule matches arrangements in England and Wales in place since 2016. Do members have any questions? No. If not, are members content that the Department make the rule? Agreed? Yeah. Okay, members, item number 10, correspondence. If you turn to page 560 of your meeting pack, there is an index, and we're just going to go through those. There's not that many. So, item number 2 at page 562, members are asked to consider a holding response in the Department in respect of the domestic abuse safe leave regulations, which will be in place before the end of the mandate. Are members content that we forward this to ICTU? Yep. Item 3, page 564, members are asked to note the departmental response in relation to the clean heat market mechanism, which explains the heat pump regulation or installation targets and the £500 payment to be made in respect of each unit of this target which is unmet. Members content to note? Mm-hmm. Yep. Item 4, page 567, members are asked to note the departmental response in relation to glue traps. The department has explained that without a UK Internal Market Act exclusion from the market access principles, the Scottish Government's ban on the sale of glue traps in Scotland would not be legally enforceable with respect to glue traps sold in Scotland and produced or imported into England, Wales or Northern Ireland. Are members content to note? Yep. Item 5, page 572, members are asked to note a departmental research paper in relation to employee voice in the workplace. Are members content to note this pending consideration of the Good Jobs Employment Bill? Yeah.
Chair.
Sorry,
Chair,
Sinead.
Chair,
Yeah.
just can I come in that?
You can indeed. Yeah, item 5.
It's quite interesting, and I think at this point it might be good to ask Lisa Wilson to come in to the committee and talk that through. I do know from my conversations with businesses and that they want to know more about that employee voice within the Good Jobs Bill. So it might be a good first move for us to get her into committee to talk through that paper.
Agreed.
Members happy? Yeah, agreed. No problem. Item number 6, page 613. Members are asked to note a copy of the 2024-25 annual report and accounts for the Health and Safety Executive for NI. Members content to note? Item 7, page 726, members are asked to note a copy of the agreed statutory rule in relation to the Renewable Heat Incentive Scheme Regulations 2025. Members content to note? Yep. Item 8, page 732, members are asked to note correspondence from the Committee of Finance in respect of the review of arm's length bodies. Members content to note? Yep. Item 9, page 736, members are asked to note a copy of correspondence from NIC, ACTU and the Devon Economic Research Institute to the Committee for Finance in respect of corporation tax. Is the committee content to note pending the informal meeting with the Chartered Accountants Ireland in January 2026? Yep. Content. Item 10, page 745, members are asked to note a holding response from the House of Lords NI Scrutiny Committee in respect of EU regulations relating to the eco-design of tumble dryers. Members content to note? Yep. Item 11, in tabled items, members are asked to note correspondence from the Electric Vehicle Association in respect of cost reductions to energy bills in GB announced in the budget. Are members content to note? Members, are there any further queries in respect of any of those items of correspondence?
Chairperson, there's a further item also in tabled items, page 19. This is just from Nick 2. They're just thanking the Chair of the Economy for attending the rally on domestic abuse safe leave. For members are content to note.
Yep.
Great,
okay, members, forward work programme. Clerk, do you want to take us through page 576?
It's page 747.
Oh, sorry.
That's my fault. That's my fault. I got that wrong. So it's 747. So, members, the department was in contact. We'd originally planned to meet on the 7th of January, but I think the department wants a bit longer to think about their budget, etc. So, I think the plan would be that we not have a meeting on the 7th of January. That instead, the Minister would come to us on the 21st of January. She would talk about the budget, and also the department will talk about its business plan and hopefully its 5-year sustainability plan. Additionally then, so our next meeting would be on the 14th of January when we'd have the department in talking about the monitoring round and also the December monitoring round, and hopefully give us a bit of a picture of how the year is going to end. And additionally, we would also hear from the department on the RHI consultation and feedback from that.
Just sure. How long is the Minister going to give to the committee? Just I'm conscious that she's been once since she took office, and there's been quite a considerable amount of water under the bridge since. So the budget's a considerable part of the discussion, but there's so much else.
Usually it's an hour and a half. That's usually, I think members usually make very good use of an hour and a half, I have found, and I know that John O'Dowd used to do about an hour and 3/4, but that was the longest I'm aware, unless members can beat that in the committees they're in. So I would expect her to do an hour and a half from 10 o'clock to 11:30 on the 21st of January. And hopefully.
I think it's important that we have sufficient time, given the fact that Sinead obviously at the start of the meeting had indicated in relation to some of the queries around Invest NI as well. So it will be a bit wider than just specifically the budget. As Jonathan said, there's quite a lot has happened as well. So it'll be a good opportunity, obviously, to engage with the Minister. Any other?
Just on the 4th of February, we have the department coming in to talk about the clustering strategy. So we've been encouraging them to do that. So if members are content with and there are a few other items that were mentioned during the meeting. Sinead.
Sinead.
Chair, I spoke to Phil Brett, I think last week, in relation to my concerns regarding the renewable energy price guarantee. And I think it would be appropriate for us now to get a briefing from the department itself around that, because there are concerns out there by the sector in relation to everything around it. So if we could get an update from the department as well around that, and he said that he would discuss it with the clerk, but I'm not sure whether he did or not at this stage.
Looking at the clerk's face, I don't think he has. But look, I think members are content that we do reach out to the department and schedule something in the forward work programme.
Yes.
Obviously, sooner rather than later.
Yes.
Members content.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Yep. That's good. Thank
Okay.
you.
No problem. That's it.
Yep.
Okay. Any other business? Jonathan.
Sorry,
Sorry, Dan.
Scratching my head.
Are you sure?
It's like bidding something.
No, it's just a point that maybe the clerk will be able to clarify it. Did we get an update on the Invest NI energy efficiency capital grant at last week, or were we at a point that we still didn't know? And does potentially the minister in the budget clarify some of those matters? It's just I'm continually getting asked the question: what is the status? What's it going to be?
Yeah,
are you any further than
the report was pending, and that was about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
And I thought members might ask Invest NI last week, but didn't. But no, the report is pending. And that's as much as I know.
And the report pending as to what the next steps are.
Yeah, so they, as you know, it was really popular. Yeah. And they spent more money than they thought they were going to. So and so they were taking stock of what they were going to do next with that, and they're still that report is under consideration.
Could I propose that we write to Invest NI asking them for a bit of urgency in publishing the report so that we can get clarity?
Agreed.
Members agreed?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Lovely.
Right. Any other business? No.
One thing, it has occurred to me. I've been getting, a bit of correspondence from our contact from constituents about every delivery service and the delays Christmas time. It's a big thing. Is that something our committee would deal with? It could be, review that and write to every, on behalf of consumers.
I think
go for it.
That would be the trading standards, because if you undertake to, provide a delivery service within a particular time and you don't, that would be, I think usually I've seen questions like this, members are absolutely free to ask this as an urgent oral, as an urgent written question for the minister, whether we'll get an answer before Christmas, I don't know, but it's probably the best thing for your constituents to do would be to contact Trading Standards and see about it.
It's a big issue. No problem.
Okay.
Okay, members, date and time of next meeting. It is going to be on Wednesday the 14th of January 2026 at 10 a.m. So it just leaves me to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we will see you all in January.
Have a great Christmas, everyone.
Members content, we adjourn the meeting. Meeting adjourned.